Hello, my channel mammals and my strangers. It's so good to see you this morning. I'm going to read a wee snippet of this week's Bible lesson on substance. Have a seat. Hi. The subject of the lesson is substance, as I said, and I love that word because sub and stance work together. Whatever the base of our thought is the stance that we take. And those two words complement each other to make a strong and clear presence. And this lesson, I'm only reading one section of, but you can get all the sections by just going into the, the description. It's different than it was. It's now, you don't have to give your email. You just go in there and click, and you can get a link to it and have it right in your phone or your computer. And I chose to read this section because I thought the story was very telling of the times that we're in now, and we want to be really alert to that so that we see beyond what the thoughts have kind of grown to become. Of late, there's been a lot of talk about food. What's in the food, what's being put in the food, what food is good for us, what food is bad for us, how much food, what the food is doing to us, how it's making us stronger or more intelligent, or how it's making us weaker and less, less vivacious, less life. And so then there's also the thought that there could be government that would control the food that we would intake and how we would be controlled in that way to serve in the needs that they would have. So it's something very similar to what happened thousands of years ago. So the first thing I'm going to do is read the golden text from Romans for the lesson on substance. Oh, the depth and the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of God. And the second section starts with Psalms. Trust in the Lord and do good. So shalt thou dwell in the land, and verily thou shalt be fed. Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give thee the desires of thine heart. Commit thy way unto the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. And then in the book of Daniel. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel and of the king's seed and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skilled in all wisdom and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as he had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. And now among them there were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, those 4 boys. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove my servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat. And as thou seest, deal with thy servants. So he contended to them in this manner, and proved them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. As for these 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and in all manner of wisdom and understanding, that the king inquired of them. He found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. In Matthew, blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. And in Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy, it correlates. God is not separate from his wisdom, from the wisdom he bestows. Spirit duly feeds and clothes every object as it appears in line of spiritual creation, thus tenderly expressing the fatherhood and motherhood of God. A false sense of life, substance, and mind hides the divine possibilities and conceals scientific demonstration. Admit the common hypothesis that food is the nutriment of life, and there follows the necessity for another admission in the opposite direction, that food has power to destroy life, God, through a deficiency or an excess, a quality or a quantity. This is a specimen of the ambiguous nature of all material health theories. They are self-contradictory and self-destructive, constituting a kingdom divided against itself, which is brought to desolation. I do not maintain that anyone can exist in the flesh without food and raiment, but I do believe that the real man is immortal and that he lives in spirit, not matter. Spirit is the only substance and consciousness recognized by divine science. That's the end of the second section. And it was wonderful to be with you for these little wee moments together midweek. And I can't wait to see you next week in this next week's lesson, which we'll find out by then, soon. So long.